fifth grade, Mrs. McCoy here, just showing you a shot of my puppy Winston as he's trying to sleep. So I didn't want you to be alarmed if you hear a noise. Oh, look, now he might be up and being naughty. If you hear a noise, it's him snoring. He likes to lay next to me while I read books to you. But sometimes he gets, sometimes he gets a little bored. So if you hear some weird noises, I promise it's not me falling asleep. It is Winston snoring and sleeping during the book. So today we're going to continue reading Bunnicula. Oh, hold on, boys and girls, while I try and hook my phone back up to this contraption here. Hold on. So we're going to keep reading Bunnicula, a rabbit tale of mystery. And we left off, Chester was showing Harold. Remember, Chester's the cat, Harold's the dog. Chester was showing Harold how Bunnicula resembled a vampire. So we left off where Chester was saying how he was reading that book. So let's continue reading. Here we go. Bunnicula, a rabbit tale of mystery by Deborah and James Howe. So the book, remember, they were reading is about vampires, but we're afraid to ask. Personally, I had never wanted to know anything about vampires, but at the moment, I was afraid to tell that to Chester. I still don't understand what vampires have to do with our little furry friend. 1, Chester said, vampires do not sleep at night. They sleep only during the day. The same holds true for this rabbit. 2, vampires can get in and out of locked room. Bunnicula gets in and out of his locked cage. This was beginning to interest me. Didn't you say something about the refrigerator? That's right. He got the refrigerator open all by himself. 3, vampires have long pointed teeth. They're called fangs. Well, don't we have fangs? No, we have canines. That's different. What's different about it? Fangs are more pointed and vampires use fangs to bite people on the neck. Ugh, who'd want to do that? Vampires would, that's who. Wait a minute. I saw Mrs. Monroe bite Mr. Monroe on the neck once. Does that mean she's a vampire? Boy, are you dumb. She's not a vampire. She's a lawyer. She bites necks. I don't think that's quite the same thing. Now, Bunnicula does not bite people on the neck, at least not so far. But he does bite vegetables. On the neck? I asked. Vegetables don't have necks, Harold. Vegetables are like that. It's like dogs. Dogs don't have brains. Dogs are like that. Oh, yeah? I said, of course he bites vegetables. All rabbits bite vegetables. He bites them, Harold, but he does not eat them. That tomato is all white. What does it mean? It means that he paints vegetables, I ventured. It means he bites vegetables to make a hole in them, and he sucks out all the juices. But what about all the lettuce and carrots that Toby has been feeding him in his cage? Ha ha! What indeed, Chester said. Look at this. Whereupon he stuck his paw under the chair cushion and brought out with flourish an assortment of strange white objects. Some of them looked like unironed handkerchiefs, and the others didn't look like anything I'd seen before. What are they? I asked. Chester smiled. Lettuce and carrots, he said. White lettuce and carrots. I found them hidden behind his cage. I was aghast. What did it all mean? Could Chester be right? Was this harmless-looking little ball of fluff really a vampire? Just then, Chester let out a yelp. Look, he said, the cage is empty again. Oh, we're fools, we're fools. We've let him get out of our sight. It's your fault. My fault? You're the one who took 20 minutes to sit down. Well, if you hadn't knocked me off in the first place. Wait a minute, why are we arguing? Let's find Bunnicula. Just then, we heard a click in the kitchen. Refrigerator, I whispered. Chester nodded. We jumped down and moved cautiously to the kitchen door. Shh, Chester warned unnecessarily as we crept along. Don't make any noise. We don't want him to hear us coming. Obviously, I retorted. The light went out under the door. He must have closed the refrigerator, Chester said. Easy now. We pushed the door open. The kitchen was dark. There was not a sound. Psst, Chester. What? I can't see. I can, but I can't see him. He's not here. There was a soft scamper across the linoleum, and we turned just in time to see a little white tail bounce out the door into the living room. Drat, we've missed him. Come on, Harold. Let's see if we can catch up with him. Chester started towards the door. Wait, Chester, what's that on the floor by the refrigerator? He turned. The new object interested him more than following Bunnicula. Watch out, he said. I'll take care of this. He slunk across the room slowly, muscles taut, eyes alert. When he was about 6 inches away, he stuck out his paw, closed his eyes, and batted at the object tentatively. I don't think you made any contact. Get closer, I said. Chester's eyes popped open. Who's the cat here? He said. I know what I'm doing. And he proceeded to bat the air 3 more times. What is it? I squealed as my throat contracted in fear. I don't know yet, but whatever it is, it's not alive. Oh boy, if I wait for you, we'll be here all night. I walked bravely to the object and sniffed it. Well, asked Chester. Beats me. Chester came closer. After a moment of close examination, he gasped. I jumped. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Harold, Chester blurted. What? What? It's... Yes, it's... What is it, Chester? It's a white zucchini. Chapter 5. Chester goes into his act. The next morning, I was awakened by a scream. Robert, come down here right away. There's something wrong in the kitchen. For a moment, panic seized me. I thought she'd run out of dog food. But then I remembered the events of the previous evening. Mr. Monroe came bounding down the stairs. Chester, I cried. Did you see Mr. Monroe? His face has turned white. It's Bunnicula, isn't it? No, he said calmly. It's shaving cream, you idiot. By now the excitement in the kitchen was at full throttle. The table was covered with Bunnicula's handwork. There were white beans and white peas and white squash and white tomatoes and white lettuce and white zucchini. What can it mean, Robert? Mrs. Monroe was saying. I'm getting worried. 1 tomato is a curiosity, but this is unheard of. There must be something wrong with the refrigerator. That's it. It's turning all the vegetables white. But look, she said. I left these tomatoes on the windowsill, and they're white too. And this squash I left in the bowl by the table. At that moment, Pete and Toby came into the kitchen. Holy cow, what's going on? Hey, maybe it's a vegetable blight, Mom. Could that be, Robert? Did you ever hear of anything like that? Well, no, actually, that is. I've heard of blight, but nothing like this. Chester leaned my way. This will take forever if we leave it up to them. Sometimes human beings can be so slow. I started to answer him, but he was heading for the table. What about that friend of yours in the agriculture department? Oh, Tom Cragen? Could we call him and ask him if we're doing something wrong? It's DDT, Mom, Peter injected. I know about this stuff. It's because you buy vegetables that aren't organic. All vegetables are organic, Peter, Mrs. Monroe replied. That's not what my teacher says. See, Toby, I told you this was happening. They're using chemicals on our food, and if you're not careful, you'll turn white too. Like Dad? Robert, can you take that shaving cream off your face? Why, yes, of course. Where's my towel? I know I brought it down with me. For that matter, where was Chester? I'd seen him going toward the table, but I lost track of him listening to all the talk of DDT. I just hope they didn't use any of that stuff where they grew chocolate cupcakes. Pete, did you take my towel? Why would I take your towel, Dad? I don't shave. Just then, the door swung open. I could not believe my eyes. There was Chester, with Mr. Monroe's towel draped across his back and tied under his neck like a cape. That was strange enough, but on his face was an expression that sent chills down my spine. His eyes were wide and staring. The corners of his mouth were pulled back in an evil grimace. His teeth were bared and gleaming in the morning light. He cackled menacingly and threw back his head as if he were laughing at all of us. I thought he'd completely lost his mind. There's my towel. What's the matter, Chester? Were you cold? Mr. Monroe bent down to take his towel from Chester. Before he could lay his hands on it, Chester flipped over onto his back, closed his eyes, and folded his paws over his chest. It was a hideous sight. He opened his eyes wide. With paws outstretched, he slowly lifted his head. His eyes glazed and vacant. Soon, the upper half of his body followed, all in one smooth flow, until he was in a sitting position. Hey, Dad, did you leave your brandy glass out last night? Chester is acting a little weird. Well, son, cats are funny creatures. I glanced at Chester. He wasn't laughing. Psst, Chester, what are you up to? I'm a vampire, you dolt. Can't you tell I'm trying to warn them? Well, it's not working. You better think of something else. Chester frowned, apparently deep in thought. So you see, Toby, Mr. Monroe was explaining. All cats are as individual as all people. Maybe he just wants to get our attention. Isn't that right, Kitty Cat? Ordinarily, Chester would have left a room upon being called Kitty Cat, but he was lost in thought. Come on, Chester, give me back my towel. Mr. Monroe moved toward Chester. Chester's eyes lit up. He looked at me and smiled. I sensed I was not going to like what he had in mind. All right, boys and girls, we're going to stop there for today, so stay tuned tomorrow to see what Chester has in mind. Bye-bye.